last year's first place team, and we have Chris and Evelyn Cole, okay? And they're from Weapons of Mass Reduction, and the one thing that I really love that they're doing is they are staying very, very active, which is helping them. So please, come on up, congratulations.
Well, good evening. Chris and I are here to talk to you guys, just kind of share our story and maybe tell you guys what it looks like a year after Team Lean. Chris and I have been married for 10 years now. We have 2 little boys, and we sat right there where you are with our 2 boys, so I appreciate you guys in the front row with the 2 kids. We remember being there, and maybe they made a little too much noise every now and again, but it's really grown a lot. I was really impressed by the PowerPoint. We have different speakers coming in. Maybe I should just come just to join you guys. But Team Lean was a big event in our lives because we had started weight loss at the end of 2011. And then Team Lean was kind of our wrap-up of how we ended our weight loss journey, and not that that journey ever ends, and we're going to share that with you tonight too. My personal story was I was an obese child, just coming from an obese family. My father today is still 400 pounds. My mother is close to 300. So I did not have anything genetic going in my favor for weight loss or for being thin and healthy. And Chris shared the same kind of story. So we were both obese all throughout childhood, all throughout our teen years. We got married and we got happy, and fat and happy kind of went together. So we had no complaints, but every year we kind of made the comment, oh honey, I kind of like to lose some weight. Maybe one day we'll run a 5K, or maybe one day we're going to be these really skinny versions of ourselves and be sassy. But anyway, well, maybe you can say that. But anyway, so about the 8-9 years of our marriage, we had 2 children. Maybe my math is wrong on that, but we had 2 children, 2 little boys, and we just felt the need to be healthy for them. So it wasn't even a selfish reason anymore. It was, I want to live a long time with these beautiful kids that I have. And so that was our sole motivation in doing this and doing it together. So we did lose some weight before Team Lean, and then we joined Team Lean. And our total weight loss, I lost 100 pounds total. Chris is my star. He lost 120 pounds. And then, of course, our team, who one of our members is joining you guys in this year's competition. We as a team won the co-ed champions or whatever. I don't know. Maybe we'll just keep calling ourselves that. But anyway, so we won the competition, and what it looks like after Team Lean is kind of what I wanted to focus on. I tried to rack my brain for some ways to motivate you guys to see this and see it beyond a 12-week process. Because it's really easy to be motivated when you're doing Team Lean. You have other teammates, or maybe you shared your goals, so you have some people keeping you accountable. Well, that comes to an end at some point, and no one's there to say, how's the Team Lean weigh-in going, and you don't get a weekly printout of your percentage loss anymore. So the way we decided to stay motivated is through local events. About 2 weeks after we ended Team Lean last year, we did our first 5K. A really fun one, if you're looking for one, is the Color Run. They're coming actually to Augusta. It's not a timed event, it's a I did it event, and sometimes you just need those. I didn't have to run so fast to beat everybody, but I just did it. We did it with about 10,000 other people in the streets of Atlanta. So that was a really cool event, and we used that event to kind of spur us on to continue running races. We turned that into a 10K, and then ran another 10K, and we just constantly run races. We're not winners, we're not really fast runners, but we get out there, and we not only get out there with ourselves, but our kids run the kid races. While they're there, they're not fast either, but they really enjoy it. So we feel like we're sharing a love of fitness between each other and also with our children now. Our big events, I know you're going to tell them about it, but Chris did a triathlon in September of last year. And then I think very I'm doing a half marathon, Augusta half marathon, February 23rd. So one little tidbit that I want to leave you before Chris shares some things with you is that I always use the excuse I'm too busy. I had so many commitments, and I know you're probably thinking, yeah, every mother does. But the reality of my situation is that the last 5 years I've worked full-time as a supervisor of diagnostic medical sonography to 6 family practice offices. In addition to that, I pursued a double major in biology and chemistry, in addition to having 2 kids. So if anybody can use the excuse I was too busy, I could have done it. And the ways that I think you can nail the goals that you have set for Team Lean is to put fitness, health on the list. It didn't have to be first on the list. It wasn't my first thing on the list. But put it on the list. There's always 30 minutes that you're watching TV or 30 minutes you're reading a magazine, checking a friend. You could be doing it with some activity. You know, if you have a treadmill, put it in your living room or put it near the TV. If you have to watch that show, go to bed earlier, get up a little earlier. Early morning workouts are my favorite. So those are just things that I wanted to share. All right.
I just kind of wrote some things down here. I said, Team Lean has helped me with my fitness goals and weight loss. There's been a lifestyle change, both physically and mental battle. The biggest thing I can gain in Team Lean is the accountability for myself and my team. The reason I wanted to lose weight was so I could be active. My 2 was, and to set my fitness goals high. I said after Team Lean, I wanted to do a 5K like my wife said, and then 10K, and of course I did the triathlon. And I'm still working my fitness goals. I set my goals high. I feel like I can work on losing weight and still reaching my goals. I love to work out. It is a part of my life now. I feel better when I work out more. Energized. My whole life has changed thanks to Team Lean and the life today.
Thank you so much. Boy, that is amazing. I mean, and I love that y'all are staying so active. And you know, I say I run 5Ks and I am so slow, but I always win because I'm so raw. So let me introduce you to Dr. Brian Parr, our speaker for the night. He's an associate professor of exercise and sports science at the University of South Carolina, Aiken, where he teaches courses in exercise physiology, nutrition, physical activity, obesity, and health. He also conducts research focusing on exercise performance, physical activity, and weight control. Dr. Parr writes a weekly health and fitness column for the Aiken Standard and is involved with the Aiken Family-Wide and Eat Smart, Move More of Aiken County. He is also an ACSM certified clinical exercise specialist. Thank you. You are drawing at the end like you did last time, so hopefully you got your little ticket and we'll draw at the end.
First of all, thank you very much for inviting me here, and thank you for taking time out of your evening to come and learn a little bit about exercise and weight loss. I am now in the incredibly awkward position of having to give a talk about exercise and weight loss after the experts told you everything you really need to know. So hopefully there's a couple of tidbits you can get from me. What I think is wonderful about Chris and Evelyn's story is that they did everything exactly right, and their story, it's amazing, but the way they started is exactly where you are right now. And so, you know, to think, oh, I don't know if I can do that. They probably thought the same thing when they first started this. And what I'm going to try to do today is give you some information and give you some tools and some ideas to get you started incorporating exercise in your life for weight loss and for health and fitness in general. So there are really 4 things I want to get through and key points I want to make. And the first one is that being regularly physically active, that could be just being active in your day-to-day routine, or it could be participating in regular exercise, is the most important thing you can do to improve your health. The second point is that exercise really is essential for long-term weight management. A lot of people lose weight really quickly following some very strict diet, but almost all of them gain it back almost as quickly. The real key to be able to lose weight and keep it off in the long run, meaning years down the road, is regular exercise. Chris and Evelyn are off to really, literally a running start on making that happen. I'm going to give you 3 steps that you can put into place starting when you leave here tonight to help you on the road to activity for weight loss and improving your fitness. And the final key point that I want you to keep in mind is that everything you do to improve your activity or become more active counts and is helpful. More is better. There's no reason for you to think, gosh, you know, I can only go for a 15-minute walk. I don't think it's worth it. It is. Every step counts. Okay, so the first one, exercise is the most important thing you can do. This quote's been thrown around for really kind of a long time, and it's true. Exercise is better than almost anything else, including most medicines, for lowering cholesterol, for lowering blood pressure, for preventing and treating diabetes. It's more effective for weight loss than any of the medications that are out there right now. It's better for improving your memory and your cognitive function. You know, as we age, our brains kind of go into a slow decline that starts much earlier than we would like to admit, I'm sure. And you know, we're supposed to do the puzzles, the word puzzles and the number puzzles in the paper. The evidence shows that regular physical activity is far more effective than those things in helping prevent that age-related cognitive decline. It improves memory and learning. There's a lot of evidence that kids in school that exercise throughout the day and are active as they learn more and remember more. And that's true for all of us. We're kids at school, except most of us are big kids at work, right? Trying to learn and remember it and do what we do. So really, if there's one lifestyle change you can make that's going to make you healthier overall, it's being regularly active and participating in regular exercise. Okay, so you're here as part of the Team Lean weight loss program, and since I spend a lot of time thinking about and studying and talking about how to lose weight, I figured that I would let you in on the secret. Okay, you're early on in the program, it's not too late. Unfortunately, that is I really can't reveal that. I will, but you might get the idea at this point that it is a secret that no one really knows. Most people who lose weight gain it back, and they try again and again and again, and finally they get it right? So you might think that there's some conspiracy against you trying to lose weight, that there's some secret method to how to make it work, and I'm going to tell you what it is. That's it. Eat less, move more. Now, I hope you're not disappointed, but that really is the answer. And I show this slide when I give talks, and people say, gosh, you know, isn't that a little too simplistic? Like, there must be more. Okay, well, there is. You're right. So I'm going to give you the details. Be ready, because it's a little complicated. Well, okay, here it is. Eat less, decrease your energy intake. So we'll throw in some science words in there. And move more, increase your energy expenditure. It turns out that this combination of cutting back on the energy, the calories that you take in, and increasing the calories you expend through activity is the answer. It really is. And a lot of people don't believe that. So I think this is a great cartoon. Eat less and exercise more. That's the most ridiculous fad diet I've ever heard of. Because it comes across that way. We're so used to hearing things about, oh, take this supplement or drink this juice or eat this food or follow this bizarre whatever it might be that will melt away the pounds when you sleep. And I have bad news for you. None of that really works. And so it comes back to this. And I think we're at a point where there have been so many of these kind of crazy ideas that promote weight loss that when someone hears, well, you have to exercise more and eat less, that sounds kind of strange. But I'm here to tell you that it's the truth. Now, if you have heard that exercise really isn't effective for helping you lose weight, have any of you heard that before? I see it in the media sometimes and I hear people talk about it, that exercise really doesn't matter that much when you're losing weight. And if you have heard that, I don't blame you for believing it. This is a cover of Time magazine. This was a couple years ago. And what the little headline there says, of course it's good for you, but it won't make you lose weight. Why? It's what you eat that really counts. So I remember when, I get Time magazine, I remember when this came in my mailbox. I came home and I saw it and I immediately sat down, ignoring taking out the garbage, and read that article, and I called up one of my colleagues and I said, have you read Time magazine? And he said, no. I said, I'm bringing it to you tomorrow. This is outrageous. Because what this article was saying is, if you exercise as a way to lose weight, it will actually make you gain weight. Now here's the thinking, is when you exercise, after you're done exercising, you feel hungry. So you're going to go and you're going to eat. And the other part of the story is, well, exercising really doesn't burn that many calories. Do you have any idea how many calories you burn when you run or walk a mile? It's about 100. It's about 100. And so the idea is that you exercise and you burn some calories, and then you go and you eat, and you more than make up for it, and you actually gain weight. Well, they didn't get it exactly right, and nobody asked me, and I wish the people at Time magazine had given me a call, because I would have edited this a little bit. And I would, are you sure that exercise is good? Yes, I am sure. Of course it's good for you, and it will help you lose weight. And what you eat really counts too. I mean, when we look at it, it really has to be that eat less and move more. So if you hear things about how exercise really doesn't help and how you'd have to do so much exercise it would be a full-time job to even lose a pound, know that that's not exactly right, that that's not the real story. But it sells magazines, right? And it certainly got my attention and got my blood pressure up a little bit from that. And I still talk, when I talk about this in my classes, my students are like, will you relax a little bit? Okay, so let me tell you the truth behind this. When people exercise as their only means of trying to lose weight, they end up losing less weight than people who follow a diet that's low in calories. And there's a practical reason for this, okay? And the practical reason is that there are 3,500 calories that make up a pound of fat. So if you want to lose a pound of fat, you need to cut out, somehow, change the balance, 3,500 calories. So if every day you cut 500 calories out of your diet, in a week, you'd lose a pound, okay? Assuming everything else stays the same. Now, to get that same 500 calories a day through exercise, you would have to walk about 5 miles. Has anyone walked 5 miles recently and remember how long it took them? That's like over an hour, right? I mean, if you walk at 4 miles an hour, which is a pretty good walking pace, that's an hour and 15 minutes, okay? 500 calories is the French fries that come on the side of your sandwich at lunch. It's the mocha mint caramel latte you get in the morning, right? Think of that. It's, in many cases, it's the big giant soda that you get, right? Think about how long it takes to consume that many calories and how long it takes to expend it. It is relatively easier to lose weight by cutting out calories because most people can cut out 500 to 1,000 calories a day just in things they drink that contain a lot of calories. I mean, replacing calorie-containing beverages like soda. How many sweet tea fans are out there? You don't even want to know how many calories are in sweet tea. You can make a big difference in how many calories you take in relatively easily. I won't say it's easy, but it's relatively easy compared to having to walk that long or exercise that much. So that's why when studies are done, and I've done studies like this, where the people who just exercise don't lose as much weight as the people who follow the diet. You know who loses the most weight? Yeah, the people who do both. The people who do both. And in the studies I've done, and this is typical of studies in the literature, people who follow a relatively low-calorie diet and do moderate exercise, maybe say an hour a day of exercise, that exercise gives them maybe an extra pound or pound and a half a week to their weight loss that they're getting from the diet already. So it does add up. It does count. Okay, so I'm going to give you proof for this, and I'm doing this mostly because if my students knew that I gave a talk and didn't show a nerdy black and white graph from a journal article, they would be forever disappointed in me. So I'm going to give you kind of the overview here. So this is a study that compared people losing weight from exercise and people losing weight from diet. So here's the diet weight loss right here, and here's the exercise weight loss right here. In this study, both groups lost exactly the same amount of weight. Is exercise alone effective for causing weight loss? Sure it is, if you do enough of it, right? It's equal to what you would get from following a diet. Here's what I want to point out, though. The height of these bars is how much weight people lost from different places. So there's skeletal muscle, you don't want to lose that. There's visceral fat and subcutaneous fat. Subcutaneous fat is what's underneath your skin. It's what you can pinch, okay? Visceral fat is deep in the abdomen around your internal organs. Visceral fat you may have heard of because having a lot of visceral fat is really bad for us. It's linked really strongly to conditions like high cholesterol and diabetes and high blood pressure. It's related to something called the metabolic syndrome, which is a clustering of several really bad risk factors that greatly increases your risk of having a heart attack or a stroke. But notice what happened. The group that lost their weight through exercise lost more subcutaneous fat and lost more visceral fat and lost less muscle than the group that lost their weight through diet. So exercise really does work for causing weight loss if you're willing to do enough of it. Now, the take-home message from this is, my gosh, why not do both, right? Why not do both? Why not do the diet to give you the big calorie reduction and the big weight loss? And why not add in the exercise to give that extra fat loss and help preserve as much muscle as you can? It just seems like that's the right combination, yeah? So, okay, nerdy part over. So, I know last week you learned about what a healthy diet looks like and how to create a healthy diet. I'm just going to give you a few shoulds and should nots for following a diet. The diet really should reduce the calories you take in, the fat you take in, and the sugar you take in, and portion sizes. I really believe that the biggest problem we have with our American diets is the amount of food we eat. The portions we get are much bigger than we really need. And if you want to frighten yourself, look up the nutrition information for a restaurant that you just ate at. You can give yourself a good scare. It should emphasize whole grains, fruits, vegetables, and low-fat protein sources. Low-fat meats and low-fat dairy if you're a milk drinker. It should incorporate real food and teach healthy choices. There are a lot of diet programs where you pay them money and they send food to your house and you open up a box and it says, this is breakfast, this is lunch, this is dinner. And people who do that lose an enormous amount of weight. But when it's over and when the food stops coming, they go back to their normal way of eating and they haven't learned anything. You really should use this opportunity to learn how to make healthy choices and to prepare healthier food. Because that's what's really going to make the difference in the long run. Obviously, regular exercise has to be a part of it. The diet you follow should not restrict foods that are generally agreed upon as being okay, like bread, or emphasize in an extreme way foods that aren't normally a part of the diet. Does anyone remember the cabbage soup diet from years ago? Okay. Now, this is a perfect example of that. If you eat enough, the idea is if you eat enough cabbage soup, the weight will melt away. But really, it works. And the reason it works is, how much cabbage soup can you make yourself eat before you just start eating less, right? That's really not, that doesn't get you to the goal of being able to make healthy choices. It shouldn't severely limit calories. We know that people who follow diets that are below about 1,000 calories a day or so lose weight really rapidly, but they also tend to gain the weight back the fastest, the most. A low-calorie diet, somewhere in the 1,200 to 1,500 calorie a day range is going to work and be safe for most people. But any reduction you make in the number of calories you take in is going to lead to weight loss. If you normally eat 3,000 calories a day and you cut back to 2,500 calories a day, you will lose a pound a week. And so it's relative to what you used to be eating. It shouldn't require that you purchase special meals or supplements. There are no dietary supplements that have ever been shown to be effective to help people lose weight and keep it off. They claim to, but there's no evidence to say that it actually works. So if you're following something that says, while you're following this plan, you also need to order these supplements online and have them delivered to your house, someone's making a lot of money off you. And good for them, I guess. But that's really not going to be helpful. And so those are kind of some general guidelines. Exercise. It should include aerobic activity, walking, jogging, cycling, that kind of thing, swimming even. And the reason is the aerobic activity that you do for an extended period of time that burns most of the calories. It should be moderate in intensity. A brisk walk is a good example, something comparable to that. There is no need to go biggest loser and exhaust yourself to the point where you're throwing up and crying. That is not an effective way to lose weight. It works for them because they're on TV, and let's be honest, I think all of us would be able to lose an awful lot of weight if there were TV cameras on us all the time, right? I mean, talk about external motivation. I think that would be a good one. It should include some resistance exercise. If you don't participate in resistance exercise, like lifting weights or elastic bands or something like that, this is a great time to learn about that. One of the things you want to do is maintain your muscle mass. Your muscle mass is what keeps your metabolism high and helps you burn more calories. And also, as we get older, our muscle mass tends to decline. And it's really smart to build up a good base of muscle now so that we have more to lose as we get older. And your goal should be an hour a day. And I'll tell you later why I say that. But your goal should be an hour of exercise a day. It shouldn't be overly exhaustive, and it shouldn't cause injury. The biggest loser phenomenon, right? I mean, those people come out dirty and in tears from their exercise sessions. And that's not the way you should approach it. It shouldn't require any special equipment. To be honest, the most recommended exercise for weight loss is walking. It requires comfortable shoes. And then that's it. You don't need to buy really fancy equipment to make this work. It also shouldn't emphasize spot reduction. So spot reduction is the abdominizer, right? It melts away your belly fat as you do these abdominal exercises. It turns out that that doesn't work. Spot reduction is not real, and it doesn't work, and I'm going to prove it to you. Spot reduction would be like chewing gum to melt away fat cheeks. But we've all seen people with fat cheeks chewing gum, right? So spot reduction does not work. It just won't. So beware of the exercise equipment that kind of tries to do that. Okay, the idea is that you balance your diet and exercise. One of the reasons that exercise is so important is that it gives you a buffer after you've lost the weight. So if you exercise every day, you have this sort of buffer that you can mess up a little on your diet without gaining any weight. And here's an example of how much exercise you need to act as this buffer. So at the top we have this healthy meal. It's grilled chicken and salad, and it seems really nice. And it's about 320 calories. That's almost an hour of walking, right, to offset that. But if you eat an unhealthy meal with pizza and sweet tea and whatever else is on that plate, I don't even know what those things are, you're going to have to walk for over 2 hours to burn off those calories. So exercise is important to kind of offset the diet a little bit. Your goal in the long run is that you can eat and not have to worry about what you eat every second of every day. So the exercise gives you that buffer to be able to help keep the weight off. So this idea of balance between diet and exercise comes back to this idea of energy balance. It's the calories in compared to the calories out. So the calories in, that's the carbohydrates you eat, that's the protein and the fat and the alcohol. That all adds up to your total calories that you take in. And on the other side is how much energy you expend, how many calories you burn. And that's through things like your resting metabolic rate. When you hear people talk about their metabolism, or you hear about some supplement that revs up your metabolism, that's what they're talking about. It's the calories you burn to keep you alive in a day. It turns out that it's a lot. The downside is it's really hard to change. So if you're putting all your emphasis in revving up your metabolism, you've got a lot of work to do. There's something called thermic effective food. It has to do with the energy it takes to absorb and digest the food you eat. It doesn't really amount to much, and it's virtually impossible to change. The only way to increase the calories you burn through digesting and absorbing the meals you eat is to eat more meals, which completely defeats the purpose. So the two that are interesting that we're going to talk about are activity like exercise, but all activity together in something called NEAT. And we'll talk about what NEAT is. And I promise you will agree that NEAT is really neat. So if you take in more energy than you expend, you're going to gain weight, just based on this balance. And if you expend more energy than you take in, then you're going to lose weight. So the idea is you decrease the calories you consume, and you increase your amount of activity. And I'm going to tell you how to increase your NEAT as well to help expend more calories too. So where do the calories go? So this is looking at calories that you burn in a day. And notice the big blue chunk of the circle here, of the pie. That's your resting metabolic rate. That's the number of calories you burn at rest. It's a lot. It's what keeps you alive. But like I said, you really can't change that very much. There's the food thermogenesis to digest and absorb food, but that you really can't change. The one that you can change is your physical activity. How much you move is totally within your control. And so if we take that little piece of the pie that represents all physical activity and break that apart at the bottom here, we have two parts to this. This is exercise or purposeful movement. It's you deciding, I'm going to go for a walk. Okay? That's the exercise energy expenditure. And the rest of it is what's called NEAT. Now, NEAT stands, it's an unwieldy name, non-exercise activity thermogenesis. Non-exercise means it's not purposeful exercise. Activity means it's physical activity. And thermogenesis is the really way too nerdy way of saying burns calories. So it's the calories you burn by moving when you're not intentionally moving for the point of burning calories. It's the stuff you do without knowing it. It's the fidgeting. It's the standing instead of sitting. It's the shifting in your chair. At work, most of us have chairs that roll, right? So we can roll around our office or our cubicle to do all the things we need to do. If you stand up and take the 2 steps, that's NEAT, okay? And that's a lot of the energy people expend in a day. It's posture, it's how you sit. You know how there are people when they sit down, they sit kind of upright and support their own body weight? Then there are other people that they melt into the chair. The people who are sitting more upright, they're more NEAT. Right? That expends energy. And if you spend a lot of time sitting at work, that makes a difference over the course of a whole day or week or month. So what's so neat about NEAT? I'll tell you what's neat about NEAT. This is kind of the brainchild of a researcher named Jim Levine at the Mayo Clinic. And this has sort of become his thing, and it's really interesting. He's done some research on this, and he measures the NEAT. He has these little devices. If any of you have a pedometer to track how many steps you take, maybe some of you have an app on your iPhone that tracks how much you move. It's that kind of device. And he put it on a whole bunch of people to see how much they move throughout the day. What he found is that people who were lean at a healthy body weight spent 2 more hours standing every day. And people who were overweight spent 2 more hours sitting each day. Now, when he asked the people how active they were, they didn't know they were doing this. They had no idea that they were spending, they said, oh yeah, I sit about the same amount of, they didn't know. They didn't know this. This is something that they did without knowing it. Now, here's why this is important. This difference in calories, 350 a day, that's almost a half a pound a week of weight loss coming from sitting less and standing more. Getting up out of your chair and taking the 2 steps to the printer to get the paper rather than scooting your chair over. Right? Those little things really do add up. And so it matters. NEAT is important. Now, do you want to be more NEAT? Well, here's how you can do it. Here are some examples of what you can do. Talk on the phone for an hour. People do that all the time, right? You'll burn 200 calories in a 5-day period of time doing that if you talk for an hour a day on the phone. But if you stand up while you talk on the phone, you're going to burn 700 calories over 5 days, right? So one piece of advice I give people all the time is when you are on the phone, get your butt out of the chair. Stand up. It'll do 2 things. It'll make the phone call shorter, and you'll be NEAT while you're doing it, right? It helps. And all of these things may not seem, right here, at home, call a cleaning service to clean your house as 20 calories. But if you spend 15 minutes a day doing little light house cleaning in your house, that's 150 calories over a 5-day period of time. right? And you start adding up all of these things. Be honest, how many of you, when you go to Target, drive around looking for the VIP parking? Yeah, I think it's something that's kind of built in our American brains, that somehow getting the closer spot makes us, I don't know, somehow better, right? Like we won something. Park further away and walk. You know, I had some students years ago that did some research that shows that parking further away and walking into Target or wherever it is that you're going, you actually get in the store faster. And we thought about this because the people who would drive around a lot, we asked them, you know, why are you driving around the parking lot? Oh, because so I can park closer and get in the store faster. So you know what we did? We timed it. And it turns out it takes twice as long to do the drive around way as it does to do the park at the kind of the first convenient spot and walk in. No kidding, these things add up. Okay, so this brings us to some recommendations for what we should do. The NEAT gets to this first point here, sit less and move more. As Americans, we're really good at sitting. Most people, this includes children on through adults, watch the equivalent amount of TV as a full-time job. By the time most kids graduate from high school, they've spent more time watching television than they've been in school. And I don't know anyone that stands up to watch TV. It's in the couch. And then when you're watching TV, what do you have to do? Well, you eat, right? So this idea of sit less, move more really is important and a great way to spend more energy. Being as active as you can. Really, you know, we think of ourselves as being crafty when we conserve energy. Be energy wasters. Take 2 trips to do something that could be done in 1 trip, right? You should also dedicate time for activity every day. The being neat and being as active as you can is good, but you really do need to dedicate time every day to be active. In a minimum of 30 minutes should be where you start. Your goal, if you're here to lose weight and keep it off, is 60 minutes a day. That's your minimum goal to make that happen. You can divide it up into 10 to 15-minute segments. If you don't have an hour at a time and you can do 4 15-minute walks, do that. It adds up to the same. It works just the same. So no excuses. And the third part is you should include what most people traditionally think of as exercise, right? Lift some weights, do some flexibility exercise, take a yoga class maybe, get on the treadmill or the elliptical, go for a walk. Add something that has more intensity along with that physical activity. And I'll give you some thoughts on that too. So really, this is your 3 steps, right? Sit less, move more, dedicate time every day to be active, and incorporate exercise in your routine. If it isn't every day, do the exercise at least 2 or 3 days a week. In addition to this, being active all the time. Okay, so what fits in your busy schedule better? Exercising 1 hour a day or being dead 24 hours a day? So if an hour sounds like a lot, it's less than 24, so that's good. All right, so getting started. If you do not exercise now and you haven't seen your doctor for a while, it might be good to see your doctor first. At the very least, you'll get a pat on the back and a go get it. Your initial goal should be 30 minutes a day, and you, like I said, you can split that up. Do things you enjoy. Get your friends and family involved. It shouldn't be painful and horrible. It should be something you like. Take your dog for a walk. Do you know that people who have dogs and walk their dogs get more physical activity than people who don't? But people who don't walk their dogs, like let their dog run around the yard, get less activity than people who don't have dogs. Walk your dog. Dogs like walks. They like to go with you. And look for opportunities to do new things for activity. If you're already active, if you're already doing something, do more. Work your way up to 60 minutes a day. So if you're already going for a 20 or 30-minute walk every day, start increasing the time that you're walking. Work up to 60 minutes. Add resistance training. Lifting weights or doing other resistance training is incredibly beneficial. Many people forget about flexibility exercises. It turns out that poor flexibility is something that as we get older is going to catch up with us. And it's never too late to fix it, but wouldn't it be nice not to have those problems? Explore new exercises. I'll tell you what, you have an incredible resource at your disposal with this program, and that's the Y. If you haven't been in to see what kind of programs I offer and try out some of the group exercise and try out the fitness center, you really should do that because it's a great opportunity to be able to increase your activity and get some exercise in a good supportive environment. Going to the Y for exercise is different than going to a lot of gyms, in that you walk into a lot of gyms and what you see, it looks like fitness models everywhere. The Y isn't quite like that. A lot of beautiful people, but not a lot of fitness models. We're all welcome there, right? We walk in and we feel good about being there. To do resistance exercises, there's several ways you can do this. You can do it at home. You can go and you can go to Target and park far away and walk in and get the resistance bands. It'll come with a little booklet that shows you all the different exercises you can do while you're watching TV. Isn't this great? If you go to the gym, you can use the free weights or the machines there. They'll have people that show you how to do all the exercises you should do. There aren't a lot of people who get hurt lifting weights the wrong way, but it's a lot more enjoyable and you'll get better results if you get the technique right. So don't be afraid to ask for help. You will, if you're doing it right, you will experience muscle soreness, usually a day, maybe 2 days after you get started. Trying to do too much too soon, like impress your friends or your personal trainer, is almost guaranteed to make you feel miserable for a couple days. You should not feel pain. You should feel a little muscle soreness. That actually means that the muscle's responding and growing. And how you know it's time to increase the weights is the first few times you feel a little sore the next day. And when you do your weights and you don't feel sore the next day, then you know your muscle's gotten used to it, right? So a little bit of soreness is okay. Pain is bad. Flexibility, you should emphasize major muscle groups. The goal for stretching is a static stretch, not bouncing. Most of us can touch our toes if we get a good enough bounce going. That's not a good idea. I don't know that anyone's ever injured themselves stretching, but in theory you could. It should be a stretch where you hold it for 10 to 20 seconds. 2 or 3 days a week is good, and you can, again, do this while you're brushing your teeth, while you're watching TV, while you're waiting for dinner to be made. Do some stretches. Ideally, stretching should be done when your muscles are warm at the end of a workout. I think a lot of us grew up with stretching being the warm-up, and it turns out that to get the best benefit, you do the stretching at the end. Okay, now, here's some good news to go along with what Chris and Evelyn told us here. How do I know that what I'm telling you is relevant to you trying to lose weight? Well, it turns out there's a big group that is studied. There's a research group at the University of Colorado who set up something called the National Weight Control Registry, and it's people who have been successful at losing weight and keeping it off. And what they do is they go and they answer some questions and they tell their story about how they did it. So in this registry, the average weight loss for people in this group is 66 pounds, and they've kept it off for over 5 years. So if you say it can't be done, nobody can lose weight and keep it off, this group proves otherwise. The successful weight loss has been maintained. Some people for 1 year, one person for 66 years, lost weight and kept it off for 66 years. And the weight loss that people have experienced ranges from 30 to 300 pounds. So this is a group of people who have really gotten it right. 98% of the people in the weight control registry modified their diet in some way to lose weight. So if you think you can do it without changing what you eat, these people say you have a 2% chance. 94% of them increase their physical activity, and most frequently they walk. Right? If 94% of the people who are good at something I want to do tell me that they walk every day, I'm probably going to do that too. Here's some other things. 78% eat breakfast every day. On my way here, I was listening to NPR and I heard about a study that, and maybe you heard about this in the news today, that people who eat most of their calories, eat their main meals early in the day, lose more weight than people who eat later in the day. I need to read the study to get the whole gist of it. But you've probably heard you're supposed to eat breakfast every day, right? Yeah, absolutely. 75% of these people weigh themselves once a week. Do you know why? How many of you have yourselves or you know someone that suddenly one day steps on the scale for a first time in years and says, oh my gosh, what the heck happened? Well, if you weigh yourself once a week, there's no surprises. What you'll get is you'll get a 2-pound surprise, not a 20-pound surprise. 62% watch less than 10 hours of TV per week. I know people, it's Tuesday, that have already gotten 10 hours in this week. And 90% average exercise on average an hour a day. That's where that hour comes from. The people who lose weight and keep it off, the people here who lose weight and keep it off tell us exercise every day, right? That's why this is so important. So that's a lot, but let's kind of simplify it here. So here's the summary for what you should do for getting started with exercise. Move as much as you can all the time. And then once you're good at that, move more. Start exercising. Go for longer walks. Increase the time you spend being physically active. I guess another way to put this is to walk the dog every day, even if you don't have a dog. Right? So people who have dogs, as soon as you get home from work, the first thing you do before you do anything else is you take the dog for a walk. All of us, the first thing we do when we get home should be take the dog for a walk, even if you don't have a dog. That way you'll make sure you get that activity. But the other sort of message I hope you get here is that there are no shortcuts. You really do have to put in the effort. You have to pay attention to what you eat, and you have to dedicate the time and the energy to doing the exercise. There really aren't any shortcuts that are going to work. That's all wrong. But I should tell you, the day I found that picture was just one of my happiest days. That is so good. That is so good. I love it. I love it. So, so that's. I'll leave you with that. I'll leave some of my contact information up here. I don't know if any of you are into Twitter or anything, but I have some people who are trying to encourage me to become more active with social media. So I'm trying. And I have a blog that I keep. I write a column in the Aiken Standard that comes out on Mondays. And I spend my time during the day teaching students at USC Aiken about exercise and health and behavior change. In fact, what I talk about today really is kind of pulled from what I teach in some of my classes. And so I'm trying to teach them how to go out and teach you how to do all of these things. It's something that I've studied a lot, and it's something that I'm passionate about. And I hope that all of you, through this process, either now or through another similar process down the road, find the thing that works for you, that works for a healthy diet and regular activity, and maintain a healthy weight and good health as we all get older. I'm out.